were smart, Anderson, we would have just done a cold open for this episode. Yeah, Film Vault. Welcome, everyone, to the Film Vault, the second episode of the week where we do our top five cold opens. That's Anderson. I'm Ryan Bishop, your host, and we'll bring you our best 5 cold opens, or perhaps more. Anderson, you were threatening to hit me with some more than 5.
Yeah, you know what? I showed restraint at the end of the day, and I looked at my list. I'm like, this is a solid 5. I don't have to add a whole. My problem was I was having too many big heavy hitters on the list, and I never like to do that. I never like to have 5 household name movies,
the obvious
5
choices,
commonplace movies. Yeah, I feel like we're better than that. We can do a little bit more than that, especially with all the time that it takes to come up with some of these lists. I assume the listener has an idea of just how deep we go into this week in, week out. Obviously, some weeks ask more of us than others, but we spend a lot of time, and I don't like to spend upwards of 5 hours watching, researching, reading, and then give you like Jurassic Park.
Yeah, no,
you know what I mean?
I get it. That would be dereliction of duty. Normally, I would say it's very boring to talk about how we went about researching, but this particular list is like hard to research, and even thinking of movies off the top of my head was completely fruitless. So how did you go about doing your research there?
Yeah, it was frustrating because I'm like, I'm pretty sure it's a cold open, but how do I get? And then you go to
that's
opening.
The other thing. Sorry, is if you like YouTube search for cold open, a lot of people don't know what a cold open is. We should probably explain.
No,
that.
yes. I found all sorts of lists and whatnot. Just that's how I finish.
Lists are worthless for this.
Every time I research,
they'll be like, Star
every time
Wars
I research,
has a great cold open. It's like it most certainly does not. It's the opposite. It's very warm, very warm.
I spend a whole lot of time, throughout the week. Looking up clips and thinking, and while I'm in traffic or while I should be spending quality time, imparting wisdom to the boy, I'm actually just thinking about movies and cold opens. And then usually with about 48 hours before we record, I will do the finishing touches, which is I will go and research other people's lists to make sure that I didn't leave off any big notable picks, and I was shocked to see some of these lists with cold opens, and people are just very confused by what the cold open is. So I guess we should probably say that what it is. It's different from opening titles in the sense that there aren't any titles,
or it comes before.
So these are
pre-title sequences.
And for those of you who watch a lot of TV, I learned, I did not know this, but I learned that The Office is famous for its cold opens. I guess there's a lot of comedic TV shows that start with cold opens. If you watch 6 Feet Under, which I did religiously, every episode would start with a cold open.
I think that's very common these days. Like, It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia always starts with like them in the bar, and it says like 2:00 on a Tuesday.
I didn't even think about that. Yeah. I don't even like it when there's any kind of titles or setup. I like it where it just throws you right into the action. Now, a really good cold open will give you an idea of not only the tone of the movie, but also the theme, perhaps one or two of the lead characters, and will do so without a whole lot of exposition and or dialogue too. If it's very effective, you'll just get a sense of the movie and the setup. I went so far this week, Brian, I did something I can't remember doing in 10 years for this show, which is I opened up my Blu-ray player and put in a disc to watch a cold open. Luckily, I had that Blu-ray, that DVD on hand, and just to confirm that it was as good as my memory had told me it was. And Brian, let me tell you this. It's my number one. I watched it just this morning with the boy, just to confirm that it belongs my number one. And as I felt the tear running down my cheek, I felt confident in keeping it at my number one spot.
Is it animated?
I fucking love this cold open. And no, it's not animated. And I think I know what you're talking about. And that one could have gone on the list as the animated or the live action because it is something to behold. But no, this is different.
Very good. I can't wait to hear what it is. Do you think we'll have any crossover?
No, you did something earlier. I don't know if I should wires expose it, but you asked for my list so that we wouldn't have crossover, which I appreciate you not wanting crossover, but I don't want to share my list.
I understand that. I had a list of, honestly, let me see, 5. Oh my God. Let's say 12. Like there were 12 contenders for my top 5 very late in the game. And I'm like, geez, let me ask Anderson if he can send me over his list. Maybe a couple of them are on there, but alas, you did not. So I had to just do it blind. This is a list that we could revisit very easily. This is a robust list. My next 5 could easily be top 5.
Yeah. And do you think that we did it? I was shocked to see like big blogs, like with, lots of videos, YouTube videos with tons of views of cold opens that weren't cold opens. Like people just don't understand, I guess, what it means.
Maybe like when we did, what else? The last time we experienced this, I think, was we did top 5 high concept. And a lot of times people are just assuming that meant the opposite. It's like, no, here's what it means. So these are all my scenes take place before the title. They either open straight cold into the movie, or you get like a production company logo, which I think maybe they're contractually required to do. And then
sometimes that does happen.
A couple of mine, Anderson, they never show the title. The title is never seen on screen. They just, the movie starts.
Well, that I was pretty strict, and if that happens, then it's not a cold open. As far as I'm concerned,
absolutely a cold
the
open.
whole movie can't be a cold open. The whole movie can't be a cold
scene.
open.
I think you'll agree with a couple of mine.
If it then goes into the title sequence, then an argument could be made.
The movie opens cold.
If there's no title sequence, title sequence, where does the cold open end?
Well, at that point, you got to draw the line and say this is the end of that scene. This is the end of the cold open.
Like Gangs in New York, like you don't see the title till the very end of the movie. There's a few movies that are like that. It's kind of almost becoming in vogue. I don't like it. I like to be reminded what movie I.
That's weird because I was having the exact opposite thought, which was I feel like these days people are very aware of the movie they're going to see. They've probably seen trailers, TV commercials, the poster, when they went to buy the ticket. They're very aware.
A movie that I made, Brian, called Groupers, which I don't talk about very often. You've probably not. You familiar with this movie?
No, refresh my memory.
It occurred to me while doing the research for this that, hell yes, I began with a cold open. Fuck to the yes, I started with a not only cold open, but a oneer. And I followed the rules as far as, you get an idea who the main characters are and what they're all about. And I did so with one continuous shot through that bar. So it didn't occur to me that I followed the rules and did a oneer and a cold open for my very small little budget movie that many of you helped me make. So I just wanted to point
one of mine includes a oneer in that cold open. Is it Groupers? We'll find out.
It's not. I can tell you that because Brian is lukewarm on Groupers because he doesn't know good cinema when it bites him in the Darsic tunic.
What is the sacroiliac
thing there? Sacroiliac. All right. Couple updates, couple things. One, Bike Guy sent me a message via Patreon. Remember Bike Guy?
He didn't want us to spoil because he couldn't pause the show.
Yeah, Brian used to do this thing. Way back in the day, which was he would he'd say, okay, well, if you haven't seen this movie, I mean, it is 6 months old now, so you should have seen it. But if you haven't seen it, then here's what happens at the very end. And, fast forward 30 seconds, or I'll give you 30 seconds. And it always enraged me. It was before we had spoiler discussions and whatnot that were separate entities. And we got a message from a guy on the bike. He says, hey, listen, I'm in traffic riding my bike. I can't even get to my device to push pause because I'm, both hands on the wheel. So we always refer to Bike Guy, where we did for long.
Bike Guy is the second worst thing to ever happen at this show. Yeah.
Bike Guy?
Because he's completely got you obsessed with, you're like, people can't fast forward. There's spoilers.
Yeah, I still don't think we should. I mean, we're a movie show for people who love movies. I don't think we
That's
should. That's
exactly why it's okay to talk about like 40-year-old movies. We're a movie show for people who love movies.
No, because we have like younger listeners too who have not caught up with every 40-year-old movie.
Chinatown, where you're like, don't give away the ending. I'm like, the iconic ending that everyone knows.
Give away the ending. Soylent Green, leave it alone. I don't care what it is. Don't talk about it.
I'll give you a hint. I'll give you a hint.
Actually, never mind. I don't want to talk about. I have a shirt that just says what it is.
You used to drink out of a mug that was covered in spoilers at my house.
No, it's covered in famous lines.
All spoilers.
All right, listen. Bike Guy, update on Bike Guy. He no longer rides a bike. Not only that, Brian, he commutes to work and he hates the bike commuters. He hates them. He hates bikers now. Full circle. Bike Guy now hates bikes.
Wow.
Bikers. Bicyclists.
Who watches the Watchmen?
I should say. All right. Last week,
that's the update?
I was supposed to talk with. Yeah, it's a good big update. I wanted to let everyone know. Bike Guy's got lore on this program. Hey, last week, I wanted to talk Golden Globes with you, and I forgot. It just blew right past both of us. Let's talk Golden Globes. I got the list up here. Here are the movies that are up for just. So look, I was like, you know what, dude, you love movies. Your main gig right now is talking about movies. You're fortunate enough to like talk about movies. It's your duty to look up what at least be aware of what the Golden Globes nominations are. I did so begrudgingly, and I was appalled, Brian. And I decided then and there that this is the last time I'm ever going to pay any mind to the Golden Globes, even though I don't pay much mind to them to begin with. But this year, I will go out of my way to avoid their existence, much like I do with Aronofsky's The Fountain. Like The Fountain does not exist in my universe. So, Best Picture drama, because they break it into dramas and comedies.
We should start
musicals,
there.
right?
We should start there because that is a vestige. They've been doing the musical or comedy category since 1952, when I guess musicals were much more popular. And now, like, I think we'll get to it, but they really dredged the bottom of the barrel for musicals.
You want to do musicals, comedies first? I don't care
because I haven't seen two of them. I just know that when the nominations came out, I was like, oh, should I see these movies? And they're not well reviewed.
I have also not seen two of them, but okay, we'll get there in a second. Drama. There's one movie that's up for the top five Best Picture dramas that I agree with. One movie, and that's Nomadland. The other ones, I was expecting Mank, and I expect Mank to be an Academy nomination as well. But Promising Young Woman, as fun as it was, as it is, it's not a Best Picture type movie. It's just not.
This is Promising Young Woman. I had this conversation today. We had a film critic on our show, and Corolla was talking about the Golden Globes, and he hasn't heard. I don't think he's heard of any of these movies. And he's like, Promising Young Woman,
he's
and
an old man.
We both were like, yeah, it's good, but kind of surprising, like not Best Picture material.
And then The Trial of the Chicago 7. We already talked about that. Like it's a movie kind of made for your parents. Like it's got its moments, but it just does not.
It doesn't rise above standard, courtroom fare.
No. And then The Father, which is a movie that you and I have actively avoided, which is Anthony Hopkins losing his mind.
I have not avoided it. You just can't. It's
slipping
not streaming
into dementia.
Anywhere, so I couldn't tell you anything about it.
I'm actively avoiding it, and if it doesn't get if I don't have to watch it, I'm not going to ever watch it. All right, let's now. I don't really care about the actors and actresses. I just want to talk about now the musical comedy section. So there's essentially 10 movies that are up for Best Picture for the Golden Globes, right? We just named the 5 dramatics. Now here are the musical / comedies. The Prom, which is a movie that I think I just know that I don't need to ever see,
I'm
right?
on board.
I mean, it looks like Valentine's Day. Like it looks like what was it? New Year's, right? Like remember those movies, like the holiday
Day
movies,
or New Year's? Yeah.
And then music by Sia, which we kind of touched upon, how there's problems with that.
Have you seen the music by
Borat.
Sia? You talked about it. I don't know if you'd actually.
No. I hope not to see it. I
It
hope
is
to never see it.
10% on Rotten Tomatoes. I know that's not the Bible, but use that as a signpost. 10.
Borat subsequent movie film. It was okay, but I did not like it nearly as much as the first one. I think it lost a lot of its shock value because we had already met Borat, and he was doing the same thing yet again. And whatever. It just does. I don't think it belongs in any Best Picture. When you're looking at if it's just at the festival, if you're just looking at whatever movies were at that festival, that's one thing. But this is like all movies released in the last 12 months. This is the best. Palm Springs is the closest thing on this list of deserved because Palm Springs was good, but even that is like. Kind of like a thinker rom-com. It's like a rom-com that, elevated rom-com is what it is, right?
It's solid, yeah, but it's like it's solid. I liked it. I don't know about Best Picture material, but here we are.
The final movie that I want to talk about, and this is the reason why I can't look at the Golden Globes. Not that I ever did before, but the Golden Globes are just they don't exist to me after this moment. After here, I don't mention the Golden Globes ever again, Brian. Hamilton is up for Best Musical / Comedy. Hamilton is not a fucking movie. Hamilton is a fantastic capturing of a live performance of a very famous Broadway musical, which was enjoyable. I'm glad that I saw it because now I feel like I have an idea of what Hamilton is, but it belongs nowhere near any list of best film anything because it's not a fucking film. It's not an adaptation. It is a musical.
Yeah.
and it's at best it's a documentary. At best, it's documenting a musical.
It's a spectacular production, but as a motion picture, absurd.
It's not a fucking.
But never mind the fact that it's a they taped a 5-year-old event.
It's very old. It's a number of. There is a place where this could be turned into a musical, and it would probably be awful. Something like Mamma Mia was fucking, from all accounts. I don't know, but just not not worthy of the. I hate it so much. I have not been this upset. Now, what happens, Brian? What happens if the Academy follows suit? Is there any fucking chance in the world that Hamilton gets nominations? I don't care if it's
out of the question. I think it's only there because they have a musical category.
Wasn't there another musical that came out last year?
I heard, what was the one? There was like a Christmas themed one that I heard was kind of good. Certainly better than the fucking 10% music movie. What was the one on Netflix that was like kind of Christmas themed?
Hamilton. Oh yeah, Jingle Jangle.
That's exactly it. Heard it was
Listen, and I have nothing against Hamilton, and I really, really enjoyed what I saw. I was shocked that I actually enjoyed it, but it is just like, I mean, I don't need to even make a claim that it's not a fucking movie, and it belongs. It just shouldn't even be eligible. It shouldn't be eligible. It was a Disney cash grab, so that people would get subscriptions to Disney Plus. I'm glad they did, because I'm glad I got a chance to see it. But it's not a fucking movie, Golden Globes.
I'm glad to hear your impotent rage. Yeah, I never thought of the Golden Globes as anything, as an award show worth caring about. I'm glad that you're on my side on this one.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I've always hated it.
I mean, I enjoy the show. It'll be fun to see Ricky Gervais making fun of, whoever.
I feel like if awards was an entity, like awards would sue for libel that they're using their name in this show. Like it should not be called awards, because you should not award. That'd be like giving the Stanley Cup to the Giants, the New York Giants.
Any Giants is ineligible.
I mean, Palm Springs should be up for a Tony.
Well put.
Okay, here we go. Sorry, I haven't been that upset with an award show in at least 12 months.
At least 12 months.
All right. Yeah.
Good.
All right, here we go. Let's do this. Let's fucking do it. Please tell me you don't have clips.
No, it'd be impossible.
All right, here we go. And you know what? There could be some controversy, because I'm looking at the listener list right now, and a couple on here I don't agree with.
Don't agree with?
I don't agree with.
They are not cold opens.
Yeah, I don't think that they're cold opens.
We'll see.
Well, we'll see.
I did a lot of research. I mean, in terms of watching, I watched a lot of scenes, and I had to strike painfully one from my list. My hipster choice was going to be Touch of Evil by Orson Welles. It is a fantastic opening sequence. But
Not
it's technically an opening credit sequence, because it opens on a guy setting a bomb in like Tijuana or just over the border of Mexico. But then the credits start to appear on
Venice, California.
Oh, really?
If you must know.
Oh, and then
it was shot
in
in
the credits start to appear
California.
on screen as the scene unfolds. It's like, technically.
It's a great oneer. It's a fantastic oneer.
Credit scene, technically.
It's a fantastic one-shot, continuous take, and on a crane, and you see all sorts of stuff. And it was funny. I don't know if you watched the same YouTube clip as I did, but the first comment was, "I'm glad to see that Venice looked as shitty back then as it does now."
I did not notice that. I tend not to read the comments.
All right, Brian.
All right.
Here we go.
I am passionately in love with my number one.
All right, you know what? I'll take it. All right, here we go. Number 5 for me is a movie that you and I both like, didn't love, and one of the problems is that the cold open is so strong that it's one. Okay, it's a movie from 2000, and it's called Way of the Gun.
That's right.
Right. We both like Way of the Gun quite a bit. It's
Anderson. I've actually never seen the whole thing. I've seen the scene. Yeah.
Really?
This is Christopher McQuarrie, like, directed after Usual Suspects, right?
Yeah, and it's got Ryan Felipe and Benicio del Toro and Julia Lewis. Opens with Ryan Felipe and Benicio del Toro, the two lead characters, as we will learn, sitting on a Mercedes, like they're sitting on the hood, and they're in a parking lot of this club where there's a big long line, and this guy with orange, big frilly hair is in the line, and it's his car, and he sees these guys on the car, and he says, "Hey, get off the car!" Right, and they don't give a shit, right, and we don't know. We recognize them as actors, but we don't know what they're like as characters. Ryan Felipe and Benicio del Toro, that is, and they don't give a shit. They let him say his thing, and then Sarah Silverman, who's the girlfriend of big orange frilly hair guy, she starts mouthing off. Oh, does she start giving him a piece of her mind? And it's filthy. I mean, it's just said you realize that
hey, fuckhole.
They just let Sarah Silverman say whatever she wanted to say, which was pretty filthy. And she was doing that thing that not only girls do all the time, but also like pipsqueak dudes do when they have like a big friend. I used to see this happen all the time. This happened with a friend of mine who thought that I was a tough guy, and he would mouth off to other tough guys and like let me take care of his fucking mess. This happened quite a bit with this one guy that I used to be
Anderson,
friends with. Yeah.
You and I experienced the opposite of this.
What do you mean?
Which is I was with my much bigger friend Anderson, and there was someone on my car.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean,
and instead of yapping my mouth, I demurely said as an aside. So someone's vehicle.
Yeah, Brian, very. That was a woman. She was hammered,
timidly,
and she was leaning against your truck, and you weren't happy about it. But instead of saying, "Hey, miss, you think you could maybe lean against someone else's car, no one's car? How about that?" You were saying, kind of like hoping that she would hear it, like in the crowd. Oh, this is someone's vehicle. Like you were saying, like out of the side of your mouth, that's someone's vehicle. Like a concerned person at the bar instead of the owner of the vehicle.
It was. I'm glad you gave me the credit that you did, but it was far more timid. It was you and me walking out of the bar. I was like, "That's someone's vehicle."
Very, very funny. You were very off-put, very uncomfortable with the entire scene. So, speaking of uncomfortable, it goes down uncomfortable roads when they get to face. Big orange frilly hair guy is now in Ryan Felipe and Benicio del Toro's face, saying very little as Sarah Silverman continues to mouth off in dramatic and hideous blue fashion. She's very blue, and it doesn't go the way you think it would go. Right? Someone gets hit right in the face very hard. I don't know how that flies today. This movie's 20 years old now, which is shocking.
Yeah.
But it was, I remember watching this in the theater, and I remember feeling like I was watching something special. Like I was watching something like, oh, it's one of these. And it was a cold open that really threw you into the action, threw you into the mindset of these two protagonists, essentially, who are not going to play by the rules. And it felt like something special. Unfortunately, the rest of the movie kind of came and went, and it didn't live up to what that cold open did. But it was a fantastic cold open, one that I'll always remember. And I think the fact that you've seen this, but not the actual movie, speaks to that. Like this stands on its own.
Yeah, I don't feel the need to see the rest of it based on things I've been told by you and others.
It's like a 3-star movie, 3.5-star movie. That. What do you got there, Brad?
Number 5 for me, Anderson. Let's take a little diversion here because I texted you an idea for a top 5 list in the future. Okay, top 5 movies that were better than they should have been. Movies that far exceeded expectations. You can call them pleasant surprises, whatever. I thought of it when I was paring down my list and I was watching my number 5. I was like, God damn, this opening scene and this whole movie, so much better than it really even needed to be. And honestly, when I saw the trailer and I saw posters, I'm like, this movie isn't for me. I mean, I guess, yeah, kind of is. 2008, I saw this trailer with Angelina Jolie, like, making bullets curve around corners. I'm like, I need to fucking see this movie. Wanted has a fantastic cold open. And believe me, Anderson, my top 5, I'm ready to stand behind because I pared it down from 12 solid scenes to these 5. Directed by
Russian dude.
Beckman Babtov. Yep. This is one of the aforementioned movies that does not have the title appear in the film. I was researching it on IMDb. Apparently, and I could not verify this, I watched about 20 minutes of the movie and could not verify. They said, the title Wanted appears on a newspaper at some point later in the movie. I'm like, I don't have the patience for that.
Like the Wanted section? Really?
or so-and-so wanted by, I don't know what the fuck it is. I just, as it appears in a newspaper. So this opens with the production company logos, and there's some intro text about, this elite fraternity of assassins. And then it smashes or it fades in on this mundane corporate office birthday party. And that's where we meet Wesley Gibson, played by James McAvoy. And he's a sad sack. His best friend, Chris Pratt, by the way, is boning his girlfriend. He knows about it, but he's too much of a wimp to do anything. Boning. And then he tells us in his voiceover that he's like, my dad walked out on the family when I was just 7 days old. And then we cut to his dad, who's, by the way, I forgot to look up the name, but it's the dude who the Citizens United dude, or whatever, Citizen something from Departed, the guy who misspells citizens on the envelope. It's that dude, it's that Irish dude. He gets out of the cab. He pulls up in a cab. He goes up to a high-rise office where he's having this conversation with this woman, and she's like kind of scared. He's like, don't worry. If I was here to kill you, you'd be dead already. And then all of a sudden, like a little like laser scope like appears on her forehead, and she gets shot through the head. And he's like, what the fuck? And like people are like across the building, across from him, trying to assassinate him. And he like, then this fucking batshit insane action sequence occurs where he flies almost Matrix style through the window across to the building across the way, where he kills everybody. And he's standing there, and he gets a phone call from a fellow assassin. He's like, don't send a sheep to kill a wolf. And he's like, they were just decoys. And our hero looks down. He's standing right on an X. Our X has been written right there on the roof of the building, and a bullet pops right through his head. He gets shot right through the head. And then we follow the bullet backwards. We retrace the bullet steps, and it goes across the entire city, like across the entire city of New York, through a train and into the barrel of a master assassin's rifle. Right. It's a fantastic scene. It was like, I remember watching me like, wow, this is not the movie I expected. And it ended up being a much better movie than I anticipated.
You know what they call that if it was a puck and it found the back of the net, Brian, is that they'd say that puck had eyes. That puck had eyes, Brian.
The bullet had eyes.
The bullet did have eyes. Yeah, I if I had to guess, if I had to recall, I would have said that I like this movie and you gave me shit, but I guess I was wrong about that, because I too enjoyed this movie. I don't know if I'd enjoy it as much now, because I think we've seen so much with the Fast and the Furious and other movies like this that have gone completely like over the top effectively. But at the time,
Kingsman to an extent.
Kingsman, yeah, but better. Like they've done it better. Like they figured out the shtick and they've done it better. But I think this was on another maybe car wreck scenes or something like that involving the train. I mean, there's some really fun stuff in this movie, and I remember, like you, being very pleasantly surprised. So much so that I actually saw this director's another one of his films that came out a few years later, Abraham Lincoln, Vampire Hunter, I should say.
Based on a true story.
Did not enjoy that. And I did not feel the need to see the remake of Ben-Hur, nor do I ever feel the need to ever see that. But this one also, another little piece of trivia, talking about Wanted, but we can't give away that piece of trivia without giving away too much of the movie. But it is involving an actor. I don't know if you're following.
That's true. I did think about that.
You are following along.
An actor playing a rare role.
Yeah, and we'll leave it at that. It's not the only time that actor has done that. He's done it before, but it's rare. It's very rare. Yes, yes.
Only time.
You know what? Anyone who can follow along and know what I'm talking about here deserves to know. And that movie is called Street Smart. Street Smart with Christopher Reeve. Christopher Reeve.
That's not a film.
Christopher Reeve, Street Smart. Yes.
All right, number 4 for you.
Number 4 for me is a movie that you came around on. Oh, I should also say that I was very happy, and this was not by design, but looking at my list, for the first time in a little while, I have every single one of my picks comes from a separate decade. So they're spread out.
I'm sad to say that 3 of mine come from the same year.
Well, that was the year of cold opens, they call it that year.
That was
cold open year.
Cold open year.
Cold open year. Number 4 for me is a movie that came around on. I absolutely love this movie. I watched the opening sequence, and what's funny, the funny thing about Mad Max Fury Road, Brian, is watching the cold open. There's stuff that I like in there. There's stuff that I'm not too sure about in there. And if you recall me initially reviewing this movie, it took me 15, 20 minutes before I finally submitted to this movie. Like I was on the fence with this big time for the first 15, 20 minutes.
I remember
I said,
trying to convince you how great it was, and you were resistant.
It's absolutely not what I'm talking about, nor the case, nor fact at all. What I'm saying is that 15, 20 minutes into the movie, I'm like, George Miller might be too old. Like, he's just doing his old thing again. And he's trying to, harken back to his golden years with the original Mad Max trilogy. And what's he doing? Oh my God, what is that? What is the guy with the guitar? Come on, really? It's just too much.
It's Commodore Warrior.
Too much. It's just too much. It's not enough. I need to see more of him. Why don't we get more of him? More. At one point, I was like, oh, why you got to cover Tom Hardy's face? I can't even see his lips. What are you doing? He's not even the story here. He's not the story. It doesn't matter, though, because this movie's so fucking great. Like, it won me over. It took 15 full minutes, but in initially watching the cold open, I was like, I'm not sure. Going back and rewatching it.
The cold open is quite lengthy, by the way.
It is lengthy. I didn't time it. But I think it's a good 7 minutes. And my favorite part of the entire cold open, oh God, it's so good. Like I get chills just thinking about it and talking about it, because obviously I've come around not only the first 15 minutes, but the entire movie. But he's standing there. You can't see him. He's got a big beard and long hair. We find out later, but Mad Max, he's overlooking this valley, and it opens with this two-headed lizard, which is fucking brilliant, Brian. It's brilliant. It's a CGI two-headed lizard, right? And we got the VO from Mad Max about how he's haunted about the people that he couldn't save and the people that he killed, and he lives a tough life. It's a struggle for this man, as we know from the trilogy, right? And this little two-headed lizard looks cute, by the way, is making its way. Yeah. Darting about, getting closer and closer to the back of Mad Max, and Mad Max senses it. He just senses it somehow, and he just gives it the heel to the head, right? Scoops it up all in one motion. Very, very adept with both the feet and hands. Grabs it out of his, all one take, and bites off the head, and then he eats the whole thing. Cut to a tight shot, right? Tight shot. We see like him slurping down the lizard tail, and that's George Miller telling the audience, hey, fuck you and your CGI. We're doing practicals. We're doing real stunts here. We're doing real shit.
I'm watching it right now. Streaming on HBO Max.
Yes, streaming on HBO Max. So I was lucky enough that some of mine I could find them streaming. Others I just had DVDs or Blu-rays that I had to pop in to confirm that they're cold opens. But then he gets in his car, because apparently he hears something coming. All one day now we're back to the wide shot, and he takes off down the road, and he disappears, and we're just hanging there, and we're like, what's going on? And then they all come, and they come over the top of the camera, and now the chase is on, and we get to see him captured. We get to see him almost escape. We get to see him almost fall to his death. One of the boys does fall to his death with the chrome. And then they put the weird shit over his face, like the cellophane, and a lot of it's undercranked, so it's like fast motion Charlie Chaplin style, but it's effective. And then
it's just about 5.5, 6 minutes. And it's lengthy.
Mad Max Fury Road slaps onto the screen, and it sets you up for a ride.
Yeah, good one. I left it off my list, and I'm glad I did, because I figured between you and the listeners, someone's going to have it on their list. Fantastic. Number 4 for me came out the same year as Wanted, 2008, the second of 3 films from 2008. Mm-hmm. Directed by Ben Stiller, I'm talking about Tropic Thunder, Anderson. Tropic Thunder has no logos, no text. It literally opens with you smash cut right into an Al Pacino ad for a Booty Sweat energy drink and Bust a Nut bars, and then it segues directly into 3 trailers, like what the audience approved for all audiences, the green screen, the whole thing. One for Scorcher 6, starring Tug Speedman, Ben Stiller's character. One for The Fatties, Fart 2, starring Jack Black's character. And one, they saved the best for last, Satan's Alley, starring Kirk Lazarus, played by Robert Downey Jr., co-starring the only actor who's actually named in any of these movies, Tobey Maguire. And they are they're priests at a covenant, or are they covenants, or are they
What would you call it?
Brian, I
a
wouldn't
seminary, I guess.
I wouldn't
a seminary. The priest in a seminary who their relationship might be go beyond just the love of God, and then it goes directly into the filming of Tropic Thunder. This does have the title that comes after all of the fake trailers and the ad for Booty Sweat and Busta Nut Bars. But it's great. Not only is it hilarious, not only is it funny. First of all, you think. For a moment, you're like, oh, there's more trailers than I just saw a weird ad for something. And then you obviously get the joke.
Kind of like that SNL thing that happens sometimes where it's a fake commercial, but you think it's real.
Yeah, and you're like, is this? Because obviously they always start out, semi-real to sort of set the hook, set the bait. And then also, it's great because you get the idea right away who these characters are, what their archetype is, what their backstory is, what type of actor they are in this movie, the characters I'm talking about. It's great. And it's funny. On top of all that, it's legitimately funny. Tropic Thunder is number 4 for me.
It is funny. It is one of these movies that I will forever associate with you. It is a very Bryan movie. What movie came up earlier today? And I was talking with Carano and I were
probably something great.
Hanging out today, and I'm like, yeah, you know what? I know that is a good movie, but unfortunately, and it's not fair, but I associate it with Bryan, and I hold.
Wait, who are you talking to?
Mike Carano.
Fuck Mike Carano.
Oh.
No, I like Mike.
Them's fighting.
You have to remember what the movie is now, because it's probably a good movie that
I'm sure it is.
Would be. What is it?
Yeah, it was a good movie. I can't remember what it was, but
you begrudgingly want to like it, or you like it, but you can't give it up.
I can't remember. There's a number of movies that I know are good movies, but I just always think of you first whenever I hear their title, and it's like it's a Bryan movie. Tropic Thunder.
That's a good one too. Top 5 movies you think of as your other host movies.
Number 3 for me, Brian, is a movie from
really good category.
1968, and this is kind of like a composite pick because Sergio Leone was really good at setting the scene and setting up characters with very little dialogue. And he was not only good at that, but he was also good at borrowing that from Akira Kurosawa, who did it very well, very effectively. In fact, Kurosawa actually sued him at one point, I think for Yojimbo.
Really?
For Yojimbo, yeah. Because he just almost shot for shot because he was such a fan. Leone was such a fan of Kurosawa that he actually just shot. He admitted, he's like, yes, I'm a huge fan. And then here we are now with Tarantino doing it to both of them, just borrowing left and right from both of them. But the movie I'm talking about is Once Upon a Time in the West, which is the first of his Once Upon a Time trilogy. He had already finished the Man with No Name trilogy. And this is the first of the 3. Have you seen this Once Upon a Time in the West?
I actually have, Anderson, believe it or not.
Oh, well, would you look at that?
Yeah, this is a film that I have seen.
So the opening...
Our Italian friend Alessandro did a special screening of it at the Italian Film Institute or Consulate or something in Westwood, of all places.
That's funny. Yeah. I actually saw it on the big screen as well at the LACMA, if you must know, at the Los Angeles Contemporary Museum of Art. On Wilshire, but this was he didn't want to. Leone didn't want to make another trilogy. He didn't want to make. He didn't want to make another Western. But he was his hand was kind of forced by the studio to get. There was a number of reasons why they wanted mainly money. And first thing he did was he got Dario Argento, who would, I would assume, pique your old roommate's interest, who loved those Italians, and he probably loved a lot of Argento's movies.
My roommate is well versed,
as well as Bernardo Bertolucci, which is one of my favorite filmmakers' names to say ever. Bernardo Bertolucci is very fun. Bernardo Bertolucci. Ooh. Love to say.
Speaking of fun names to say and fun people to look at, Claudia Cardinale is a vision in this movie.
But if you remember, the open of Once Upon a Time in the West is, talk about slow. We talked about First Cow last week. It is slow, but it is compelling as fuck. And I'm trying to bring up the sound effect to play for you and the audience. It's the old windmill. It goes like, it sounds like that over, like repetitive. Wow. Let me see if
I'd have to look and watch this again because I don't remember the opening that well. What happened?
Oh, here it is.
Is just kind of setting the scene.
Oh, you can't hear it.
I can't hear shit.
So they're at an old train depot, and there are these 3 gunmen, and they show up, and they're very menacing, and it's all wood planks, so you hear every single step they take. And there's an old man, he's probably works on the train, but he's a ticket taker essentially. And they say, there's 3 of them, and he says, that'll be $7.50, please. He doesn't even get the 50 out. The guy takes he takes the tickets and just lets them blow away in the wind, as in to say, we don't need tickets. If we did need tickets, if we were going anywhere, we want to use your little tickets. We're off the grid, essentially. And they're waiting for a guy to come, and it takes a while. And it's almost like a symphony that he's got going with the sound of the windmill cranking, the doors closing. And hold on a second. 3 minutes in is when you first see the first credit. So it's a tiny bit of a cheat, but 3 minutes before you see the Sergio Leone title card, pretty. I think it earns it, and especially with the lack of dialogue going on here, and like there's water dripping on the one guy's hat, and you just hear a drip, and then you hear the sound of the windmill recurring. It's just a great. I would assume this movie probably had an overture as well, but this is almost like an overture. Back in the day, for the epics, they used to have overtures for you youngins who don't remember at all. I'm too young for them. I don't think you got to experience overtures in their heyday, Brian, either. But when we see old prints, sometimes they will do that, where the first 15 minutes, as people are ushering in, they're playing the sound of like the soundtrack, essentially, getting everyone in the mindset of the movie that they're about to immerse themselves in. It's very immersive. And of
course, the music by Ennio Morricone. Did you mention that?
Yeah. Well, he did all of his movies, right? So, and then Charles Bronson, who it was, they wanted Clint Eastwood to play Charles Bronson's part, but he wouldn't take it. He didn't want it. He turned it down. So they had Charles Bronson, and there's some great dialogue, as you'd imagine. They show up with 3 horses, and he's like, "Where's my horse?" And they're like, "We only brought 3." And he's like, "That's too many." And it's good stuff. But that's my number 3. And
good call.
Once Upon a Time, and there are titles that come in, but they take a long time before they actually start showing up.
Wow,
it's 3 minutes in before I counted the Sergio Leone film.
This is why I'm glad we do these lists like this, because that never even was on my radar for a cold open. But so
I knew that as soon as we were thinking cold opens, I knew that one of his would have to be on there, because he did a few of them. But this is the one that I like most. Yeah.
Well done.
Oh,
number 3 for me is what?
3 for you. Yeah, sure. Yeah. Before break.
Is a very similar movie. Well, usually when I say that, it's very opposite. I believe I was turned on to this movie because of you. I don't know if you assigned it to me or if I just eventually watched it because you mentioned it enough. But either way, a fantastic cold open and one that I had totally forgotten about. Cube.
Ooh. Brian,
1997's Cube, directed by Vincenzo Natali. He went on to direct Splice. So all you see when you start the movie Cube is just 2 little title cards. One says the feature film project presents a Cube Libre production, and then it goes right into an eye opening. It turns out the eye, a screen close up on an eye opening, looking around. Turns out the eye belongs to a man in a prison jumpsuit who awakens in some kind of a room. He comes to discover that the room has a hatch on each wall.
It's a cube.
The room is a perfect cube. Mm-hmm. Yes, it is a weird-looking mechanical room. And like I said, it has a hatch on each wall. He starts opening these hatches and looking inside, each of which leads to another near identical room with a hatch on each wall. And the man ends up in a room where... well, let's just say it's the last room he visits. And then...
it's the last room what Mouse died?
The last room that he visits.
The last room he visits.
It's probably the last room he'll ever visit. And the title comes up, Cube, and then you're off. It's a fantastic... It's completely dialogue-free. It's shocking, it's mysterious, and it's a bit creepy, and it's a solid cold open.
Yes. Here's a fun little fact, Brian, and I have Giovanni to thank for this. Gio sends me emails often sometimes they're very interesting emails, and this one was when he linked. It was just a link, I believe, to a movie called Cube, which is coming out October of this year, October 2021. It'll be released, and it's called Cube, and it is in fact a remake of Cube, the Korean remake. So
interesting.
We will have that to hopefully enjoy. I will watch a Korean remake of this movie, and it's very rare that you see a movie that starts out here. Usually, it was a French Canadian film, right? Cube was, but it's very rare that the West.
It's English language.
East remake. Usually, the West remakes the East or the European, right?
Two things about that. Number one, Anderson, I actually wrote down in my original notes from years ago. I was like, this could honestly stand to be remade, if only because of the acting. The acting is a bit clunky. It's low budge and it shows. And I'm not opposed to like a modern remake of this movie from 1997. Number two, I was shocked and disappointed to rediscover that it's only like 62% of Rotten Tomatoes. This is
Who gives a fuck about Rotten Tomatoes? Not I, said the cat. Hey, Bri.
Hey.
Fuck Rotten Tomatoes. How about that? If you learned anything recently, it should be fuck Rotten Tomatoes, because they mislead you and they're not going to allow you to enjoy certain things like Chappie. Fuck them.
Chappie? I didn't see that coming. Does it have a cold open?
I don't think so. It could be. I don't know.
However, Cube is a solid indie thriller. It's low budget, but it gets every bang for its buck. And solid movie.
If we were to ever
good news, go ahead. I was going to say all of my films are streaming. Cube is, hold on, I got it right around here. So is it on the Peacock, or is it? Where the fuck is Cube?
You should have this just written down next to your notes, and you shouldn't have to be digging. What I was going to say is, if we ever do that, like good pairings, like good double feature movies, Cube and The Platform would be a good example of that. Those are two movies, they're idea movies, and they're all kind of based around these high concepts. Real simple rules are laid out early, and then we see how the characters deal with these simple, overreaching rules.
Well put.
Yes.
Hold on. Cube
and The Platform. I would like to see the two of them back to back. I would like to see the two of them back to back. I looked it up while I was talking. It's available on Roku with ads. It's also available on Hoopla. If you're a library card member, proud library carrying card member, and Tubi and Pluto. There you go. Or you can rent it for $2 in HD on the Amazon. I'd like to see maybe some click-throughs and some people watch Cube between now and next week.
$2 for God's sake. Dive in.
All right, Brad. We're taking a quick break here.
Let's do it. Coming up next, we'll conclude our list of top 5 cold opens with some fine scenes, at least on my list. I can't speak for Anderson, but I would hope we have some good ones. Hope we have some good ones. After this. Anderson, you have a listener, advertiser, a sponsor, if you will, for us this week.
Yeah, I'm excited that we have not only a listener-sponsored ad, but direct competition, perhaps.
Like this.
No, this is good, though, because it's a different voice than ours. I'm talking about the Movie Quest Podcast is the name of it, the Movie Quest Podcast, and it is run by 3 blokes, and I call them blokes because they are from England. I talked to Ant just today. Ant, Aaron, and Johnny are the 3 of them, and they do a similar show to ours, but it's different enough that he thought that maybe people who like movies, which is our listening audience, might want to give them a shot and take a listen to what they do, which is different from us. What we do is volume. We do a lot of quantity, Brian. Limited quality over here on the Film Ball. I like to
very
think
limited, barely existent.
I like to think of us as a service, like I say, which people give me S for sometimes, shit for, but also I get emails from listeners almost every single week saying you guys really are a service because I would have never seen this movie without you. We're quantity. We do a lot. They do quality. They do deep dives into things, and they do
interesting angle.
They do seasons as well. Like they just wrapped up their animation season where they did deep dives on different movies, different animated movies, like everything from Anomalisa to Fantastic Mr. Fox. Both beloved by certain people, and they get in arguments, as you might imagine, and they go back and forth. Mandalorian, they did it by the entire season. They just, checked in and talked about Mandalorian. But not only that, they don't stop with just like, this is what we think about Mandalorian. They had a bona fide Star Wars geek on to explain to them what they're right about, what they're wrong about, and what the universe entails. And it was not you. Bryan is a self-proclaimed,
probably remember that actually.
self-proclaimed Star Wars nerd, but he is not. Upcoming seasons that they have slated are box office bombs. So they're just going to do box office bombs for an entire season. Every single week they'll do a different movie. Childhood movies, non-DC Marvel superhero movies, and video game movies. So they go through. They're all childhood friends. They've been friends since childhood, so they all know each other, and they all grew up north of England, just north of England, and they went to college, university together. So I talked to Ant today. Like I said, I Zoomed with him. I had to be on the road, and I was with Mike Carano when we Zoomed, and I was on the 405 snaking my way across Southern California while speaking with Ant. Modern technology, Bryan, huh?
I like the story of how they all came to love movies together. They were standing outside of cinemas in the freezing cold, of course, in England, talking about what they liked and what they didn't like about the latest release. They're like, hey, let's turn this into a podcast. That's like the love that Anderson and I had that manifested.
It's not at all
podcast.
Not at all like that, but it's exactly how like Carano and I started the After Disaster, because we would have these crazy conversations all the time, and then like you have to be somewhat of a narcissist to do this, but I mean, we would be just dying laughing and talking about the craziest shit, and we're like, we should talk about this into microphones, and that's exactly what you're right. That's exactly what these guys did. So give them a shot. Let them know that we sent you. It's called the Movie Quest Podcast, and it's similar to ours, but different enough, at least in accent, as well as deep dive, if nothing more. So it's called the Movie Quest Podcast. It's hard to get the word out with podcasts these days because everybody seems to have a podcast, and from what I've heard from these guys, it's definitely enjoyable. It goes down smooth, as I like to say.
Yeah, give it a couple episodes at the very least. Maybe it's for you. Maybe you'll be enveloped in the movie talk. This is very smart on their part, because I would imagine somewhere around 100% of our audience is into movies and podcasts.
Yeah, I was saying that to Ant today. I said it's targeted advertising. I'd say about 90% of our listeners like movies. 10% just like to hear Bryan and I argue, which is bizarre to me.
I disagree with you.
The Movie Quest Podcast. Give them a shot. Now back to the program.
Welcome back. Time to close this episode of Cold Opens.
You all right, buddy?
With our top two. No, I made a very clever turn of a phrase. And I wanted to make sure people saw it or heard it. Number two for you, Anderson.
I'm still, honestly, I'm still kind of reeling from what we just discovered, but that's okay. It's all right.
We'll recover. Well, think of the listeners.
You think of the... We'll recover it, or we'll. I'm thinking of the listeners. We just found out that something, a bunch of stuff that we've been keeping for years, like notes as far as future topics and past topics and whatnot, got cleared out by our old producer, who I guess we should fire. Logan, you're fired.
Yeah, this actually is probably worthy of a termination.
And I think it's worthy of air too. It wasn't Logan's fault. He didn't realize what would happen, I guess. But it turns out that I don't know how he was the sole owner of the original document that we all had access to. But if anyone has any know-how about Google Sheets and how they work, Bryan, I guess Logan and I all had access, and editing access, and we would add to this. I added to it on a regular basis. Every time. Point
out that Logan created these documents years ago when he was a producer. Things like running list of potential top 5 topics and movies to assign Anderson.
And they're all shared through Google Docs and
Google Drive.
Google Drive. I didn't know that your movies to assign me were also created by him. It makes sense now that the original top 5 master list is what we called it, would be created by the producer of the show over 10 years ago now. But anyways, long story short, we were going to access it during the break, and it wasn't there. And I actually have it bookmarked That's how often I go to this thing to add. Every time someone would suggest a topic, I would add it to the list with their name, so that if we were to ever do it down the road, we can thank the listener to who suggested it. And it's all gone, as well as our logins, all gone. So turns out Logan cleared out his Google Drive a couple days ago, or yesterday, or today even. And if you know how to recover, that would be great. We
Logan's looking into it, but who knows how much success they'll have.
Upsetting. It's really, really absurd that, if 3 people have access to something, and they want to at least keep a copy so that a decision can be made later. You know what I mean?
Tell you how upsetting it was. It disappeared in front of my eyes.
Yeah, Brian saw it for a second, and then it was gone.
It was like Thanos snapped his fucking fingers over there.
This modern world, I tell you. All right, here we go. Let's go back to cold opens. Cold opens it is.
Cold opens.
I like, what? Part of me kind of likes it, Brian. It's a new beginning, right? We're not going to rest on the logins concerns me. Like, we might be locked out of some of our stuff forever, but that's all whatever.
I am the top 5 list. We can always have people submit more ideas. We will rebuild.
Yes.
Losing your list of movies is extremely disappointing, because some of those are ones you've mentioned one time, and yeah, that's frustrating.
It's okay. Judging from the history of movies that you've assigned me in the past, I think that I might have dodged multiple bullets. So way to go, Logan. Thank you.
Hurtful.
Truthful. All right, here we go. Where are we? It's my turn, isn't it? My turn. Yes, my turn. It's funny. I got to scroll past this week's listener art every time to get to my my notes, to get to my list, and I see it every time, and it's funny every time. Good stuff. Listener art. Good stuff. Thank you.
It's good.
Thank you, Sam.
Honestly, I wish I got it.
Sam Williams. What do you mean you wish you got it? You wish you understood it?
I wish I understood the reference.
You don't understand the reference?
I don't know why I'm wearing a mask.
You don't.
Part of the movie.
You don't understand it. Yeah, that's right. That's true. You don't get it. It's a Tenet reference. We'll talk more about that later after we talk about number 2 for me, which I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on. Brian, I'm so confident with this one that it's one of the few that I didn't even look up. It's great. I should have watched it. I probably would have enjoyed watching it, but I watched others to make sure that they didn't deserve to be on the list instead of watching the open of Scream, which I've seen probably 10 times. It is fantastic. It is a short film unto itself. If we have any crossover.
Not a cold open.
What?
No, I just said that because you didn't watch it.
What are you talking? Since I didn't see it with my own eyes, like, you could make a case, and I might believe you. But if we have any crossover, I would imagine that you would have Scream on there as well. It's fantastic.
Not on my list.
Really?
Yeah, it's very good, but
so good.
A robust topic.
It's like a short film, and I think that a really well done cold open is like a short film unto itself. It's the kind of thing that you could show as a trailer almost, even though that's a little bit too long for a trailer. We'll talk about it when we get to the also-rans, or we talk a little bit more after we're done with our top 5. But a couple cold opens by a particular filmmaker, maybe a filmmaker who has something to do with this week's listener art, has released cold opens as just the trailer, just the
Interesting.
Yeah. And this is it could be a short film. Wes Craven masterfully directed movie. And it was also a gut punch because you assume that Drew Barrymore is going to make it because she's Drew fucking Barrymore.
This massive star in 1996.
Yeah. And not unlike Executive Decision, for those of you who saw Executive Decision, to see a certain action hero not make it through that opening scene. This was jarring. Equally jarring, but more jarring because she's so innocent and beloved, and you don't suspect that Sydney's going to take it like the way she does. So
bad things happen.
Yeah, and just really well executed, and it could stand alone as a short, effective, very fun little movie, little horror film. Yes, Scream in 1996. Is my number
2 for me. You only have one left, so I was afraid that you were going to have my number 1 or number 2 on your list. So if we sync up here, that'd be great. Otherwise, my number 2 from 2006 is Children of Men. Children of Men.
It's a great one.
Alfonso Cuarón. You get the production company logos, Universal, and then it goes right to news coverage. You hear newscasters speaking of the
untimely and tragic death of Diego Ricardo, aka Baby Diego. Baby Diego is the world's youngest person, 18 years old. They passed away. Baby Diego was the last baby born in the world 18 years ago, and sadly, we find that Baby Diego has died in a scuffle with a fan. Like someone was asking for an autograph. He's world famous. He's the last baby born. He's super famous, and they say, Baby Diego was never comfortable with his level of celebrity, blah, blah, blah. He died today when a fan asked him for an autograph and he refused, and they got into a scuffle, and he was killed. And then the fan was killed by the crowd, was murdered by, stampeded by the crowd.
He was the second youngest, which is also unfortunate.
That's right. They're really 2 for 1. And you see this unfold in a coffee shop full of just packed shoulder to shoulder with just enraptured crowd. Yeah. And there was probably 50 people in a coffee shop staring, and they all have, these dour, sad looks on their faces like, our last hope, died today. And then here comes Clive Owen, right? He's kind of pushing through the crowd to get his coffee. It's a coffee shop after all. Goes up, gets his coffee, makes his way out. Then all of a sudden you see the text on the screen tell us, it's November 2027. And then in a 1 minute long take, in a oneer, as Anderson would say, Clive Owen exits the shop, walks down the street, camera's still following him, pours a little bit of whiskey in the cup, takes whiskey out of his jacket, pours it in the cup, and then a bomb goes off in the coffee shop. You see it, whatever it is, 30, 40 feet away. And you get a brief glimpse of a woman stumbling out, carrying her own disembodied, dismembered arm. And the title smashes in, Children of Men, capital letters. It's an exceptionally effective cold open. First of all, it's terrifying. Secondly, you understand really quickly the dystopian hellscape that the story takes place in. And you also know exactly who Clive Owen is. Like, you get a lot of information in what is really, I think, a 2.5 minute, if that, cold open.
It is very good in a movie with a great open and a great end, and it's a very good movie. But that open and the end are both so elevated that the rest of the movie, all the Michael Caine stuff, just kind of seems flat compared to the rest of it. And
I don't love this as much as most people, at least most film lovers. It's a really good movie, but you're right. The parts that are great are spectacular, and then the parts that are mundane are just kind of there.
Yeah, not even mundane. They're elevated, and they'd be the best parts of a lot of far lesser movies. But this movie, I guess it's just a little uneven. Where Baby Driver is a great example of that. People love their Baby Driver, but for me, like, the opening sequence was great, and then after that, it was all kind of downhill. You know what I mean? It all kind of went downhill. And
yeah, Baby
Driver
definitely had a really soft, weak ending. After that's one movie that was on my original 12, considering for cold opens. It's a great cold open in Baby Driver.
Great cold open, and it never really got back to that level after that. Plus, he was in it throughout, wearing sunglasses, pretending to be cool. Hate, anger, and hatred. That's all I got for him. All right, number 1 for me. This is the one that I popped in, the old Blu-ray player this morning, Brian. I hadn't even had my Blu-ray hooked up since I moved. You know that?
You've been in that place for a long time.
Actually, that's not true. Since I got my new TCL. So it hasn't been that long. Damn it. Because, I have watched. Anyways, I don't watch the Blu-ray. I rarely open it. It's covered in dust. And I had to pop in a movie from 1987 that does come up quite often on this show, deservedly so. And it is Raising Arizona. And it is a movie that I had never seen the likes of before. And I think maybe that's why it pops up on lists. That's maybe why it's held in such high esteem for me. I know some people don't think it's nearly as good as I do, but I think, kind of going back to like the Citizen Kane thing, like no one had really seen anything like Citizen Kane to that point with the kinds of lenses and shots and what he was doing with the light. And I had never seen a movie shot by Barry Sonnenfeld, by the way, who went on to direct Men in Black, but he was the cinematographer on Raising Arizona, and it looked like nothing I had ever seen before. I didn't know you could make a movie that looked and felt like a cartoon and was so filled with life and color and colorful characters and just fun and the use of music. And that opening, the cold open, gets so much in. It's just jam packed. It's a little over 10 minutes, but once again, it's like a little short film that is the jumping off point. Like it leads right up to their plan to go steal a baby. I mean, you get to see how they meet, which is fantastic unto itself. Where he's a regular over at
that was the
police
fun part
station.
of the opening.
And she takes his picture, his mugshot over and over again, and that's how he meets her, with all the mugshots that she takes over time, and he ends up proposing to her, and then they get married. I mean, all this in the cold open with the yodeling ukulele, and then the yodeling, and then all to the sunset in Arizona, Tempe, Arizona, where they're driving off into the sunset with the ladder attached to the top of the roof of the car. This is still one of my all-time favorite movies. I just fucking love it. And watching it this morning, Brian, a tear leaked out of my eye when it cranks. I would not admit this into a microphone on any other thing that I do. I don't think it's embarrassing a little bit.
It is a little bit.
That Raising Arizona continues to make me, tear up, get choked up, because I just love it. I just love it so much. What I don't love, Brian, in doing my research, in looking for this cold open, because I knew it was a cold open, but I just wanted to see if it was deserved of being my number one. I did find some theory out there, because anyone with a microphone and a camera or access to editing, everyone is capable of putting theories out on YouTube now. And I was very sad to see that there was an entire YouTube video, which I will not link to or do anything other than talk about it right here, from a guy, I believe he's British, who it was like a 15-minute video theorizing that HI is actually a racist, and it all starts with his Peckerwood tattoo, his Woody the Woodpecker tattoo, which, yes, that can be construed as part of the Peckerwood Brotherhood, from what I understand. It's also a tattoo that people have. It's also a tattoo that, if I'm not mistaken, actual Nicolas Cage, that's a real tattoo that he has. I do believe that's actually a tattoo that he has. And this fucking son of a bitch going in depth about how he never speaks with other black characters except for his cellmate. And when he does, he's very rude to him. You ate sand. Remember that part? When we got real hungry, we ate sand. You ate sand.
That's right.
And then when he's going up for parole, he always makes sure that the tattoo is covered. But when he's with his other white brethren, he's making sure that they can all see it. I mean, this guy is fucking reaching. He's reaching, suggesting that this is a white supremacist character being hidden within woven within the fabric of a comedic film. Fuck yourself. Stop it, everybody. Stop with the madness.
Yeah, I guess you can find anything if you're looking hard enough for it.
This guy
I see the Woody Woodpecker. I don't know. I cannot tell if it's a real. I can't tell.
I should have.
It does not appear so, because unless he had, no, it's not, because I see a modern picture of Nick Cage with actual. He has actually a lot of tattoos.
Yeah.
And where the Woody Woodpecker tattoo would be is a much larger, darker tattoo. So either he had it covered, or I suspect it's not the real one.
Yeah, because it is lower on his arm. I should have looked this up. It didn't occur to me until talking to you about it just now. So it wasn't for lack of trying here. All right.
It was for lack of trying.
No, I didn't think to try it because it didn't occur to me.
You're trying lacked.
No, bro. God damn it. Is it real? That's all I want to know. Pinterest, why are you popping up? All right. Go ahead, Brian. What's your number one? Hold on.
Did we?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, did we get our access back to our documents?
I don't know.
Looks like we may have. Oh, Logan says that was fast. It's all back.
What? Those Google fuckers. They have it all. He emailed Google, and he's pretty high up over there because of his job with CNET.
This is the Logan with CNET.
Yes, we need to get Logan
you're
back.
rehired.
Logan, looking for a job, buddy? That's pretty good. That's pretty impressive. He emailed Google 10 minutes ago, and they, out of fucking thin air, reestablished. So where does that stuff go there, Googie? You guys file it away somewhere?
They must have some sort of like trash, not trash, but you know what I mean? It's a sort of deleted file cache that like saves for a month or something. Mm-hmm. Right? Because if you permanently delete something, I'm making air quotes, you can get it back.
You like how I take a positive and immediately turn it into a negative. Yeah, they should for instances exactly like this one. They probably do have like a month long period, just like your phone does, right? Like it keeps your pictures that you delete and videos for 30 days.
Yeah, some fallback, safety net. Anyway, I miss Logan. I miss Logan and his sloppy ways. I'm kidding. Love you, Logan. Number 1 for me. I would not give you any shit, Anderson. For
wait, hold on. This just in. Also, this is actually more important than us getting all of our info back. I'm on a ScreenRant.com. Fun facts about Raising Arizona. Though Cage and the Coens apparently didn't agree on everything, they seem to be on the same page with the tone of the film. The movie plays out like a live-action cartoon, and Cage even saw H.I. as a cartoon character, specifically Woody Woodpecker, along with getting a tattoo of Woody Woodpecker, like drawing on his arm for the role. Cage tried to style his look to resemble the cartoon character.
That's interesting. I can totally see that. That makes sense that they would like style a film like a cartoon. And H.I., if he was a cartoon character, would remind me more of like a Daffy Duck, like someone who's harried, or even like, Donald Duck, like someone who's harried, not quite in control, trying really hard, but spinning out. You know what I mean? Like almost not hapless, but well-intentioned, but maybe, his reach outsees his grasp.
Yeah, he didn't have the kinetic energy that Woody Woodpecker
I agree.
has, right? He's much more like subdued and I understand what you're saying, honey. Yeah, almost like, yeah.
He's like Eeyore mixed with Donald Duck.
Yeah. All right. That doesn't answer our question. I can't tell from that sentence I just read if it's a real tattoo or not.
I can almost guarantee it's not. Number 1 for me, Anderson, I was going to say I would never give you shit about your deep, deep love for Raising Arizona and the scene, because when I was watching my scenes and I came across my number 1, which wasn't number 1 at the time, it was just one I was considering. I watched the scene and I was a little bit of like goosebumps, chills with like, this is one of the most effective scenes I've ever seen in movie history, and it happens to be a cold open. I'm talking about the cold open for The Hurt Locker from 2008. What's that, buddy?
I'm just shocked that I thought you were going somewhere else, but okay, go ahead.
I think I was going with Just Friends.
No, we'll talk about it in a second.
Hurt Locker, 2008, Catherine Bigelow directed, the production company logo, Universal, whatever. No title, goes right to just this incredible scene that honestly, I don't want to wax too much, Anderson, but like scenes like this, like movies like this, restore my faith that big budget Hollywood movies can be, I'll just say it, artful. Like this scene is magnificent. It's Hitchcockian. Hitchcock's famous for this analogy he used to make about suspense when he was like, all right, well, let's say that there's, some people having dinner and all of a sudden a bomb goes off under the table. Yeah, that's shocking and surprising, but you get nothing out of it from a suspense point of view. Now, what if I establish that there's a bomb and then people sit down at the table and it's going to go off in the next few minutes? Then, the next few minutes are a white knuckle ride. And that's really what this scene distills down to. So it opens with a quote from Chris Hedges, says, the quote, "The rush of battle is often a potent and lethal addiction, for war is a drug." And then it lingers, war is a drug, lingers on the screen. Then it fades into this, it's almost jarring. You get like this video footage of something that's low to the ground, like possibly mechanical, driving along a dirt road. And then you realize the source of this video is revealed to be a bomb detonating robot in Iraq, operated by this 3-man U.S. Army explosive ordnance disposal team. And the robot uncovers a pile of explosives. But wouldn't you know it, robot, when it's bringing out the C4 to I'm probably getting it wrong. When it brings out the explosives to detonate the bombs, the little wagon loses a wheel, and so they can't use the robot. So what do? They put Guy Pearce into the
sumo wrestling suit.
That's right, into the bomb detonating suit, the titular Hurt Locker, to hand deliver the explosives. And the scene is just so masterful. I watched it like multiple times. Like at one point, a farmer is walking by with a herd of goats, and they have to make room for that. And then the guy comes out of his shop across the way with a cell phone, and that agitates them because cell phones are used to detonate these things. And every little thing pops up to like sort of agitate you while you're watching the scene, and it works. And then of course the scene concludes like it does. It was just one of the most beautiful shots of something horrible. The concussion on the roof of the car, and the earth, literally, the dirt rising from the earth.
The sonic, the
sonic concussion. Yeah, it's amazing. It's spectacular.
Yeah, it was. Catherine Bigelow was cooking with gasoline.
First female directed film to win Best Picture, and pretty sure first female to win Best Director.
Deservedly so.
It's magical. This scene is spectacular, and
just to be clear, Brian, deservedly so. I'm saying it's deserved that it took that long for a female.
That's no. What did you think that I thought you meant?
I just wanted to be clear. Just kidding, 8%ers. I'm just kidding.
I like the idea that only the women listening would be offended by that.
Oh, I mean, nowadays everyone would be, right?
That's true.
Because everyone's looking for an excuse to be offended. Everyone wants to be offended.
Really?
Everyone's like, wait, can I get some of that offense? I want some offense. I would like to be offended too. Please let me be offended.
You're offended at the Golden Globes.
That's true. I get exceptionally offended about things that do not matter all the time. I get in this argument with my wife all the time. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm never offended. She's like, you were offended at the color of the paint job at the corner of the house. I'm like, well, that's offensive. I mean, look at it. Why would you choose that color? I'm the one who has to draw. You're inside. You don't see the color. I have to see it. I see it much more than you do.
You're like Hannibal Lecter, who ate the guy who offended him with his poor violin playing or something. Mm-hmm. What movie do you think I was going to have on number one? You seem so shocked.
All right, yeah, we'll get there with the listener list. So number 5, let's go. Hey, you ready for the little listener list? I should also. Are we going to do an also rans for us? I don't know if we are.
We should save it. I have a solid also ran list that I can use for a top 5 in the future.
Yeah, this is one of those that I would like to re-celebrate. Celebrate once again with another solid top 5. Just an excuse to talk about some of these other movies that deserve to be talked about because they're fucking great. All right, number 5 for the listeners. Thanks to Jordan Wolf for compiling the listener list week in, week out. It is a huge help to the program, and I think it adds to the program. So thank you very much. Number 5 is Inglourious Bastards. Now, this is Tarantino impersonating Leone and Kurosawa, and Leone was impersonating Kurosawa. Who was Kurosawa impersonating? I wonder. Anyhow, I watched this scene. It was on one of my, like I put a lot of question marks behind, some of my picks that I wasn't sure. Uh-huh. And I watched it, and there are some titles, there are some things that lead me to. Did you watch this one?
Yeah, I think I struck this from my list because it was not a cold open. It had a whole title sequence. Or credit sequence.
It definitely sets up. I've watched so much since, because I watched this earlier in the week. I watched so much since, but I know that it tells you where it gives you actual title references, and I'm not sure that it's fucking phenomenal. It's a great scene.
It is fantastic.
And then I don't know if we ever actually even don't hold me to this, but I don't remember ever seeing Inglourious Bastards on the screen. I don't know if we get to ever see the title. I think it might be another one of these. I don't know. All right, moving on. Number 4 is The Departed.
Yeah, there's a very long opening scene, cold open, and I think if I read correctly, if I researched correctly, the title appears like 18 minutes into the movie or something. It's insane. But it's very good. It's has a de-aged Jack Nicholson. It's crazy.
I love when that happens. I love when you're watching and then all of a sudden the title slaps you across the face. You're like, oh my God, you're right. I haven't even seen the title yet. It's pretty good. I love when that happens. You know that it happened. It took 20. I don't love this movie, but it took over 20 minutes for the title to come up on 127 hours. Everything leading up to him getting trapped by that boulder.
Really?
Yeah, and then that's when it slammed 127 hours. All right, number 3, The Dark Knight. Now, this might be one of the greatest sequences I've ever experienced in the theater. In IMAX, it was like nothing I'd ever seen before. I was completely blown away. I continue to be blown away. I watched it for this episode, I thought for sure to be on my list. It is the listener's number 3, which seems a little low if it is a cold open. However, I'm not sure it's a cold open because we see the Batman logo right before the movie starts. We never actually see the Dark Knight. It goes from the mob bank heist, which is fucking phenomenal. Wait, Brian. Remember? Can you put yourself in the mindset?
You're talking about. I was looking in. Inglourious Bastards. Yes, has a full opening credit sequence, including the title before the events at the farm.
Oh, before the cabin.
Yeah, right after the Weinstein Company logo. Number 2, yes, that is a cold open, and it's fantastic. The Dark Knight. The Dark Knight.
Well, what I'm saying is, it shows the Batman logo. Right after the DC Comics logo.
Like a stylized blue flame logo.
Yeah, and I kind of take that as the title of the movie because there is no opening title sequence and we never actually see the title. Like I take that as kind of like the title of the movie. So I'm picking nits here.
You kind of are, but I feel like it fits in the spirit of the cold open. Like you're really thrown right into the action. Like there's no title, there's no credits, you're thrown right into the action.
I mean you see the Batman logo and It just doesn't say the Dark Knight across it, which I'm glad it didn't because it would have kind of corned it up, right? But cornered it up. But can you put yourself in the mindset where you're watching that and you don't even know that that's the Joker behind that sad clown mask? Like you don't know. It's 5 clown mask dudes. They all have different clown masks.
It is somewhat jarring when he finally reveals himself.
You don't know that it's him, and you just see them all picking each other off, and it's just with the zip lining over to the other one, and it's so fucking good. And the Hans Zimmer score just hitting you right in the chest. It's just so goddamn good. And then the school bus just goes out into traffic after he says the school bus driver. I'm supposed to take out the school bus driver. He's like, school bus? What bus? What bus driver? And then it just nails him. Fichtner is fantastic in it.
But then
the school bus just seamlessly goes out right on time, and it just weaves right into a line of school buses that are all on their way to schools. It's ridiculous because it's a comic book movie. You have to remind yourself every now and again because it's just so fucking great and the spectacle of it. But you got to forgive the fact that the school bus driver behind the one that the Joker drives in front of would see that he's coming out of a destroyed building.
I'm still traveling behind this bus at 22 miles an hour. He's not going anywhere.
And there's still bricks that are falling off of the roof of this school bus that is smashed up. I think that he might, raise an eyebrow and be like, that doesn't look right.
It's a great visual, but it's a bit absurd.
But I can see it in a comic book form, like happening in that cell, right? Like in that little comic book cell. Anyways, I just wanted to talk about the Dark Knight for a minute because my God, is that opening sequence so good. All right, number 2.
Dare I say Dark Knight Rises cold open better?
So yeah, that's what I'm glad you brought that up because I almost skated right past it. That's what he used as a trailer. Like they would show that. Same with Tenet. They showed the opening scene from Tenet, or not? Is it the opening scene? I guess it is. The opera is the opening scene. You want to know? But yeah, the plane takeover is the full sequence that they showed as a trailer, which no one does that anymore. They used to do it a lot back in like the 60s, 70s. They just show you a scene from the movie, and Nolan is he still does that. So yeah, you're right. It's a fantastic cold open with practical planes being taken over and destroyed. Unbelievable.
Midair.
Who really, really would appreciate that 2-headed lizard getting crushed and eaten would be Nolan, because that man does not like to use CGI unless his hand is forced. And then number 2 for the listeners is Raiders of the Lost Ark, which I thought for sure was going to be on your list. It's a fantastic open.
You know what? No, technically not a cold open. The title appears, and that's all. No credits, but the title has appeared first, and then the action. I watched it. It's a great scene.
Really? And it starts off with Raiders, and then the titles come after that?
Yeah, as far as I can remember, I just watched it.
And then number 1 from the listeners is my number 2, which is Scream, with 11.7% of the overall vote and about 25% of the top 5 there. Scream is a worthy number 1 by the listeners.
I got a little bit of goosebumps watching the Hurt Locker scene. It was just so well composed and so tense and fantastic. And on top of that, it looks like on top of that, it's this gritty movie, this suspense movie, and
on top of that, it takes the time to make the climactic moment look beautiful. Like the horrible thing looks beautiful.
Hey, Brian, your turn is over. I mean, we did that.
We're going back to my number one.
We did that a while ago. Okay. Finally, we are going to do a little gambling. Thanks to Giovanni for helping us along as we do this in the new norm. You know what I haven't heard for a while is the new norm, which I appreciate not hearing. I like not hearing that. Results from gambling. This is the results from last week. We gambled on Willy's Wonderland. I said 71%. You said 65. Foolishly said 71. You said 65. And Nicolas Cage's latest movie, Willy's Wonderland, is 60%.
Okay. There we go. Okay.
Making Bri the win-win.
Anderson, I'm going to take a huge leap.
No.
And assign you a film.
Leap. Please don't leap.
I'm going to assign you a film. Leap. I'm going to leap here. I'm going to leap before I look. I'm going to give you a little bit of backstory. I usually don't do this, but I want to make sure that I set you up for success. I saw a movie that I looked at it and I had to see it for the Corolla show, and I was like, I don't want to see this fucking movie. Like, I know what this is. I'm not interested. It's a disaster movie. Like, the world is going to end. It's like a natural disaster movie. It stars Gerard Butler. I never heard of it. I don't have any interest in this. It's called Greenland, and it.
Greenland, sweet.
Greenland was a shockingly pleasant surprise. I really enjoyed Greenland. I'm gonna try not to oversell it to you and say it's gonna be the best movie you've seen this year, but you will be pleasantly surprised by this movie, Greenland.
It's not streaming anywhere. That sucks.
I get your link.
Yeah, the poster looks god awful, but
it does. It's so bad.
I previewed this on Cinema Dicks months ago as well, and I remember being my interest was piqued, and I flagged it for discussion. So I have not heard squat diddly since then. No one has talked about it, but
I will tell you this: I have heard now, because I mentioned I couldn't hold it back on the Corolla show on Monday. I was like, you guys, I saw this movie that frankly I expected to be bad, and it was far exceeded my expectations, and I need people to see it and tell me that I'm not insane. And I have now heard from a number of people who are like, no, it was pretty good. And I was like, oh, thank God. Like, I'm so glad to hear that it was a solid movie. Written by the writer of Buried, the Ryan Reynolds Buried in a Box movie, which was also a movie that exceeded my expectations. So I think you'll find this to be much more positive than you probably would anticipate.
Okay. Very, very good. Thank you. All right, here we go. We have a few movies to choose from, thanks to Gio. We have the Mauritanian.
I know of it. I don't know much about it.
I hope I'm saying that right. I have not heard anyone say the actual name yet, and it's going to be one of those movies where it's probably going to be up for Best Picture, and it's one of these movies.
Oh, really? Oh. Good to know.
It's up for Golden Globes and whatnot, so that what's that tell you? I'm kidding, it's not. But I don't know. I've never heard anyone say it. It just seems like a bit of a bummer of a movie. Yeah.
I unfortunately have seen Silk Road. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I also saw Silk Road, bye. So that leaves us with the Mauritanian. You think I'm saying that right? The Mauritanian?
Yeah.
I guess
that's what I would guess, Mauritanian.
Or we can go with something called Flora and Ulysses, which I'm not familiar with.
I don't know. Let's do Mauritania. Is that Kevin McDonald, like the Kids in the Hall? Kevin McDonald? It can't be. No, wait. Didn't he direct Spotlight, or am I fucking completely insane?
No, yeah, you're insane. That was McCarthy.
Oh, and it was a Mac something. I don't know who Kevin McDonald is.
Tom, tell me when you have
Mauritanian.
Hold on,
Mauritanian.
All right, I got a pick. I got a number.
All right.
You let me know.
I'm ready.
When you're ready to go. On 3. 1, 2, 89.
91. Oh,
Jesus.
2 points apart.
He is the guy that directed The Last King of Scotland,
which I did not see.
Which is probably the biggest of the movies that he Director does lots of video documentaries, shorts. Touching the Void he did, which was very good. And yeah, okay. Black Sea. Oh yeah, I love that Black Sea. He did Black Sea.
Okay, good
Black
to know.
Sea's Ted. Black Sea is a movie that's better than it needed to be. Better than it was supposed to be.
That's the one with Jude Law.
Jude Law. Yeah, it's a bunch of guys that hate each other that are all stuck on a submarine.
Oh,
it's nuclear. Good.
I just saw the score for the Mauritanian. Fuck.
Why?
You are the prohibitive favorite.
Oh, I thought you were upset because you made a mistake, but you just jumped the gun.
I made a mistake by guessing 91.
Mm-hmm. What am I doing? I'm on the wrong. What is the score? I don't know.
According to Rotten Tomatoes, it is 72.
Ooh,
so
that's one above Flora and Ulysses is the squirrel movie. It's a Disney movie about squirrels. Looks good.
Huh? I don't know.
It's gonna be good. I'm gonna watch that on Disney Plus with the boy. Flora and Ulysses. Yeah, nice. I'm in. That's 71%. So the Mauritanian is 1% better. Silk Road 54%. That sounds
about right.
That feels right. Listen, I'm surprised the audience score is so low, 33%. I would think that the audience, some audience members would like Silk Road a little bit more. I'm surprised.
I guess. I don't know. It
just kind of seemed out of touch, right? It just kind of seemed like.
It didn't know what it wanted to be. Like it was like, is this a like hardcore crime film, or is this like a social network? I don't think it knew what it wanted to be.
The only part of me that really responded to it like favorably was probably the old cop. The old crusty cop getting his comeuppance. I did enjoy his 26-year-old superior getting effed, right? But I mean, that's not a reason to like a movie. And the cop, the old crusty cop, he was like no one to root for.
Did his superior get effed?
In a sense, from the viewer's viewpoint, like he got shown up.
Oh right? Yeah, he got like shut out of the investigation, basically.
Got shut. Yeah, you just knew what a fool he was and how little he knew. Sure. And I like to see, read that actually a lot of that actually happened. So,
nice.
All right,
but yeah. So the listener art. I wish I understood Sam Williams, but I suppose this is an inside joke that I will get someday.
I mean, it's not really an inside joke. There's just like they use the mask quite a bit throughout that movie, Brian. I'm sure you've seen the trailers and whatnot.
I don't remember the mask, honestly.
All right.
But what the fuck?
It's not like a key point in the movie.
Okay. Well, it is apparently only in theaters, according to the text on the listener art. So, God willing, I hope New York has a plan, by the way, to open up theaters. Just came out today. So hopefully LA won't be far behind.
I know.
Thanks to
25% they're allowing.
Sam Williams. I heard that 25% capacity. Sam Williams.
I should probably pull the plug on my plans. I've already I'm pretty deep into it, but I was going to move to Florida later this year just so I could watch movies. But I guess I should probably pull back on that a little.
Yeah, I figure that the expense far outweighs the benefit, considering almost every movie you're going to be able to see in the theater here eventually.
That'd be one of the dumbest things you could ever do is actually move. And then like as soon as you get settled, it's like, all right, everything's open again. It's like, Jesus Christ, what have I done?
There was a guy, the San Diego mayor came on the Corolla show today. He's like, I'm running for governor to in the recall. If the recall goes through, I'm going to defeat Gavin Newsom. And he's like, he kept talking about school should be open, school. And eventually I had to interrupt and I was like, hey, that's a great, I think we all agree that school should be open, but when this election happens, it's going to be October and this will be a distant memory. So what are you going to run on? And he's like, well, yeah, the school should be open.
Mm-hmm.
So it didn't go well. Thanks to Sam Williams for the listener art. Thanks to DJ T-Rock and Squashy Nice for the tunes. We appreciate it. Check out all of our Patreon content. We got a lot of good stuff up there. A lot of archive updates. Anderson is posting from the Orange Couch days. Posting relentlessly.
Yeah, every week I put up a new one to fill out the archive because one day the entire archive will be... We'll be on there.
Someone listen to all that and report back to I'm wondering how many times did we fire Logan over the years? It had to have been dozens.
We fired him every episode. We'd always fire him. Don't forget the Movie Quest podcast, our sponsor for this episode.
Check them out. Movie Quest podcast.
It's smart because people listening to this, they obviously listen to podcasts. They obviously like movies. If you have a show out there that you would like to give a little street cred to it, or help get the word out, we're a good platform to do that on. You can shoot me an email over to Anderson@AndersonCowan. We do very favorable rates for our listeners who come directly to us, rather than going through the man who takes a giant cut. Yeah. So it makes sense for everybody, except for the man who doesn't. He's none the wiser because he's overreached. He has so many podcasts under his belt. He doesn't even know that we're doing this. So it's off the grid a little bit between friends.
Thank you for the continued support of vis-a-vis our Amazon banner atop AndersonandBryan.com. AndersonBryan.com is the website. The Film Vaults at Twitter and Facebook. Vote on our top 5. Suggest a top 5. Vote on them. Let us know what you're watching. It all gets posted there during the week. Anderson and Bryan is our Instagram handle. Anderson and Bryan. Thanks, Gio. Thanks, Jordan Wolf. Thanks, Mitch Burns. And thanks, Mike Cole. We got our documents back so we can continue updating.
Thanks, Logan.
Thanks, Logan. Hey, it's been a long time. And until next time.
We do it for Van Gogh.